Hello, hello. You're still muted, Pablo. I can't hear you. Now I can hear you.
There's on all these things, right?
Wait, I think I still catch you off the wrong mic, Pablo. You're very muted from the voice.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, that's perfect. That sounds good. How are you doing?
Hey, good man. Yeah. I was saying hello and I was talking, but now that you can actually hear me, I'm done talking. I don't want to talk.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Just here. What's going on? What is this going to be about?
So what is this again? What are we talking about? What are we doing?
What are we doing? Yeah, man. Just how you been? How's Munich? How's over there?
I was visiting Barcelona for, I don't know, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and now I'm back in Munich. It's good.
Were you saying, or was someone else saying, about the whole, apparently the power was out for a while, right?
Yeah. Like a lot of our colleagues at MVST were sitting in the dark without network and whatnot yesterday for pretty much the whole day.
Yeah. And is that something that happened in Barcelona too?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So what's the story behind that?
So I didn't read the news about it. I just heard from the people, but I think it was some sort of solar energy topic, which the system then couldn't handle anymore. But I don't have the details.
Gotcha.
But crazy. Definitely crazy story.
Wow. It's yeah, man. It's just crazy. The whole, I can understand a block or I don't know, part of the city, But damn,
but
that
the whole country.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just read in the chat, Yolanda is commenting it was Portugal, part of France, and whole of Spain, basically.
Wow. Maybe it was one of these design agents that was going rogue. Sorry, one of these AI agents.
You mean that was one of the AI agents?
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening, and they're not telling us.
That could be. Let's see if we're gonna figure out today how we should deal with these agents in the future. So who was already there? We're waiting for Csongor, and then we're gonna give the people around 5 minutes to join and jump into the event. What time is it at your place, Pablo?
It's over here. It's going to be 10 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Where are you based? I thought you were based in San Fran. No?
Oh, I'm actually right now. I'm in Mexico City.
Oh, I see.
World traveler, Pablo.
Yes. No, I've been in. I've been over here for a while now. In Mexico, after the pandemic, I was looking for a place, and to just stay, because I was doing the digital nomad for a while, but then I wanted a place, and yeah, it turned out to be here.
That's awesome.
Amazing. So yeah, the first 5 to 8 minutes before starting such an event are always the most awkward, because you end up talking personally and about personal things in front of the community. So while the people are joining, so we're already at 20, I would love everyone that is joining, and I will also share it in the chat, to maybe drop a quick flag of where you are joining us right now, and maybe also letting us know whether you're in the design field, the development field, product management field, or whatever else your occupation is, because I think that would be very interesting for our panel guests today, especially that we are talking about a very technical topic. So I also see that Csongor joined. I'm going to make him attendee. So the panel round is full. We're already almost at 30 attendance. Hey, Csongor, all dressed up. Were you just selling some AI agents to clients?
Ready.
I just said we're going to wait until it's my time, but around 4 minutes to let people join and have enough time. So I already see a lot of people from Germany, a lot in the design field. So that's gonna have an interesting take today. Where are you joining us from, Csongor?
That's a great question. I'm actually in Romania. I had a half marathon this weekend. Just wrap it up, and then we'll be back in London.
Very good. Should I ask about how the result was, or is that not disclosable?
Oh, it's totally disclosable. Under 2 hours, but I'm not competing for time, so I'm past that.
Very nice. Cool stuff. So we have people from Canada, Mexico. Awesome. So 40 people already in the chat. Gonna wait a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna dive into the whole about AI agents. And Pablo was just saying maybe the outage in Portugal and Spain was done by some of these agents, and they're not telling us.
Yeah. Oh, am I muted? No.
No, you're there. Perfect. So I see people are still continuing. I would love to see where you guys are coming from, where you're joining us from, and also what your occupation is currently, whether you're from the design field or technology field or what industry you're working with. So we can tailor our questions and our talk and our discussions a bit more around that. So, cool. I'm going to give it 2 more minutes before we slowly get into introduction round, and then we're going to start the talk for today. I hope you're all prepared and ready. Around 50 people. A bit of a crowd already. That is amazing. Are you sweating,
Yeah.
Pablo? You're used to that. Way more than I think all of the other ones of us are.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It says just I mean, after this, I have one of those meetings that is a very important meeting.
Okay.
You know, I think I'm more worried about the meetings coming. No, right
the
now
next ones.
I'm cool. We're gonna get to talk about little robots, so
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm excited about that.
Perfect. Give it another shot, another minute, and then would get started with round of introductions in that round. So way past the 50 people mark.
Yeah.
Ex-fashion designer trying to find an internship from Italy. Nice to read that.
And
Product designer, product managers. Pablo?
How can I pronounce your name?
Actually Hua, but these are all correct.
What?
Yes.
What? Amazing. So I would get the ball. No, Pablo, go ahead. Go ahead. Before.
Oh no, I was just asking also. Csongor, or how?
I will make it easy. Just replace the S with an H.
Csongor.
Csongor, exactly.
Csongor. So okay. Thank you, man.
Perfect. Amazing. Let's get started into tonight's little roundtable that we are hosting. Quick introduction round. My name is Philipp. I'm one of the co-founders of MVST. We're a product development agency based in Munich and Barcelona. And since quite some years, I have been able to be the Figma ambassador for the Munich city, and that's why we are hosting all of these talks across the year. We are going to have our Figma config watch party coming up next week to see what Figma holds in store for us. So this is going to be an in-person event, so also really looking forward to see all the Munich people there. If you haven't push the attendance button yet, please do so, because spots are limited, of course, because of in-person. Today, it's not going to be about Figma. Maybe it's going to be a little bit about Figma, but it's, as Pablo already said, it's going to be about these little robots that everyone has been talking about, and that the whole world is in a bit of a shakeup right at the moment. And we want to discuss if AI agents, so I will disclose a bit also what we mean with AI agents, but if AI agents are a new user group that we as designers, but also as product managers, as technology and product lovers need to care for and need to attend to. With me, I have three awesome guests. I would quickly hand over to each of you to do the little introduction by yourself. I would start ladies first, who are very nice to have you on board. Maybe a couple words about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Philipp. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and super excited. So my name is Pablo. I am currently a product designer at Expedia in Seattle, where I spend most of the time designing features to drive app growth and retention by leveraging AI. And prior to Expedia, I was a design contractor at Google, working on building big data machine learning application at the time. So I actually have been in this design field for over 8 years now. I kind of characterize myself as a designer developers hybrid. I love exploring new tech and also build things from 0 to 1. And also outside of my outside of my 9 to 5, I am also passionate about community building. I spoke at the local Seattle conference last year on the topic of design with AI, and I also lead the Seattle chapter of a design community. We have been hosting several in-person events to bring people just sharing and then together. So yeah, I guess I can just share my takes on how AI is changing the way we design from in-house designers point of view, and also what I've seen happening in the design community. And yeah, lastly, disclaimer: I won't be revealing any confidential information about my employers. Other example, you can get it from open sources, and they are just for illustration purpose only. And I'm sorry if there's I think there's like a background image. Background noises. So anyway, just excited to be part of the conversation.
Thank you. I was already keen on all of the non-publicly disclosure insights of the company's workings, but let's see what we will hear from your side today. Handing over to you, Pablo.
Hey, hi. I'll keep it short. I'm a designer. I'm also one of the co-founders at Lumi, and Lumi is well, it started as a stock photo site, but all the photos are made with AI. Now all the other stock photos are also starting to do AI, but they don't tell you very much if it's AI. We started from the start. No, everything is AI. Everything is made with little robots, with diffusion models and everything. And now we started to also go from just stock photos as a library, but actually allowing people to create their own images based on their brand guidelines and or their vibe. Like, I really like these two images, so I want to create more stuff. So yeah, just I'm not as a veteran as well. But even here, with this thing, just being, I don't know, going down the rabbit hole for a couple of months already feels like, wow, my God, it's overwhelming. But yeah, I'm a noob in comparison. But yeah, that's me, Pablo, designer, co-founder of Lumi.ai.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Awesome that you're here. Thanks for making the time as well. Last in a row, Csongor.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. And I have to say, I have known Philipp for a long, long time, worked with MVST, I think way before they were so successful, but now them, you are like a Figma Kings of Munich. So congratulations on that. And thank you for having me in this roundtable. About myself, I'm Csongor, technical by background, did my studies in AI about 10 years ago and been in the space ever since. I'm currently the founder of Bonsai Labs, and with Bonsai Labs, we are an AI services agency, which means we work with other companies and help them build AI agents. We work with everything from startups to scale-ups and all the way to large Fortune enterprises. And I think my role in this conversation is sort of like the reality checker. Of course, we have a lot of imagination and what can be built. I oftentimes know whether the technology can actually do it, or there is just a lot of hype going on there that AI will take away all our jobs. So that's briefly about myself.
Thank you very much. So that concludes the round. We couldn't have done it without one person that can actually tell us whether these little robots will take all of our design jobs. Now, jokes aside, I think one little disclaimer before we start in the discussions towards the audience. Whenever you hear a terminology that you're not familiar with, that you're unsure what is really meant with it, please just drop it in the chat. I think we're all still exploring the field of AI, of AI agents, like what is an AI agent? Like it's these little robots, how Pablo rightfully framed them, which I really like because it gives a nice analogy. But please feel free to just drop into the chat, like, hey guys, what do you actually mean with like an LLM? Like, what is an AI agent? What do you mean with that? I think if we now would run through all the terms, that would like explode a bit the scope. But I think the chat is a nice place to just drop these, and I think there are only good topics. So today we want to talk about AI agents as a user group. So if we talk about AI agents, I will quickly do this one because I think we should all have a common understanding. I mean, maybe also you guys can correct me, I mean autonomous programs or bots that can interact with any kind of digital products on its own. So it can click buttons, it can navigate pages, it can submit a form, it can fill in my credit card, it can do all of that without a human telling it to do every single step, but rather it has, I mean, I don't know if cognitive is the right word here, but it has the ability to do so on its own, basically. So that's what we want to explore today, is like, how do we need to change our approach as designers, looking into the future of like, there will be more and more of these agents navigating the internet. And I think that's the first part that we really want to dive into, is like design for AI as the user. What does that mean? How have you guys came across it now? We all know back in the days when the whole SEO topic approached, some might still be too young with, but there are already, or have been for quite some time, scrapers and bots roaming the internet, reading websites, scrolling through websites. And we have attended to those, and we have created index HTMLs, we have created sitemaps, we have created specific descriptions of images for these robots in order to fulfill a goal, which is to help our ranking on Google. But now I think we are on a whole different turf. We are approached with agents and small little robots that can do a whole lot more than these web crawlers could do back then. So maybe my first ask goes a bit into Csongor's direction. He's the more technical one. Do you have a rough idea of like how big the percentage, can be really roughly, but how big do you think the number of agents that is out there is already, and like if it is already a significant amount in terms to call them a user group?
That's an interesting question. I know that there are a lot of agents out there. I would say in the thousands, potentially even tens of thousands. And actually, as a matter of fact, there is a page called agent.ai built by the CTO of HubSpot. And he is building this agent marketplace, which is sort of like a Fiverr for agents. And there, that can already be like a sort of a guiding sign of like how many agents are out there and what type of agents are being created. So definitely, I think they can be considered as a user group. And mainly how I think about them as a user group, let me just like give a technical framework to it. So when we talk about agents, we usually define they're an agent, but we as engineers think about it in 4 different building blocks. An agent has the capability to plan, which is the part of like the cognitive and the reasoning. An agent has access to a memory, which could be short-term memory, which is just the previous steps that you did, or long-term memory, which are all the things you have done in the past, what worked, what doesn't. Then you have access to tools that you can interact with the outside world, not just within your own world. And then you have to be able to take action, which means like take those tools and act on them. So these are the 4 building blocks, like planning, memory, tools, and action. And then if we think about like having out there 10,000 or more AI agents, then when you are building an application and designing an application, I think it's fair to already consider how could my application become a tool used by all the other AI agents, which are 10,000 of them already out there. So for example, if you are building a tool that surfaces sales leads and finds the contact information of people, well, that can be a tool within an AI SDR agent that is now everywhere and it's on the rise. And that AI SDR agent can use your application that you designed as a tool to fetch contact information that then to leverage for other activities.
Nice. So you say it's definitely already a user group that is worth keeping in mind and exploring how they can navigate certain things and do certain things. Pablo, as you are like the co-founder of Lumi, you're building a digital product that is like utilizing and doing a lot of AI work. Have you ever already considered like an agent using your product? And while I say that, maybe I think the frame would be not using it through any kind of an API, right? Like using the human interface in order to do certain things.
Yeah, we have been exploring different things. We have been exploring even beyond just Lumi, like how there are different ways that we could build design agents to do some of the tasks that perhaps we don't want to do, or the things that could just like liberate us from different things that we have to do. For example, like there are different, well, first of like I think it's been defined, but just for those, just like an agent, you might be confused about it's like because you might see a chatbot or something and might think, well, that seems like an agent, right? It answers my questions. But the idea is like what you were saying, Philip, whereas like it actually goes and clicks on the things. It might fill up stuff for you. And if we were to think about it, then in design cases, maybe it's an agent that it does like a single flow agent use cases. Could be just like an agent that goes and does design crit. It goes and just like critiques your design and then tells you. And like Csongor was saying, well, they have different specific instructions and different tools that it can access, and those instructions could be just like, hey, check these things, check these things in. It could be just an image, but if it is deeper, like it could be integrated into Figma, and with the Figma API, you can actually check the design right there inside, right? And actually check not just a design crit that is like almost like oh, I don't like it, but actually checking, hey, is this doing accessibility correctly, like an accessibility checker that is actually checking all the little details and then telling you which one. And potentially there's also the YOLO mode or something that says like, don't just tell me about it, that I actually fix it and actually change the color of it, and adapt it to be like maybe the contrast color of a text behind the background. It could also be for all the design systems police out there. It could be also consistency with the design system, right? It's like it gets in there and it's like, ooh, you broke the component here, but I have access to Figma, I have access to the whole design system, and I can replace this with the actual button, you know. And it's like, and maybe just like automatically also send an email to the designer who made that. It's like, hey, we saw that you broke that component, but we replaced it. Don't worry. But first warning. You know, imagine getting those kinds. This is a design dystopia already describing. But I think, yeah, we're kind of exploring. Those are the most basic ones, and I think there might be already like ones that use the single pattern. But I can imagine going just beyond from visuals and stuff, and it's like going onto the actual production, onto the QA, the stuff that happens once you publish something, and getting an agent that actually clicks and finds bugs. You know, it's just like clicks, and then it's like, hey, it has some instructions that you build the agent so it can check these different things. Like when you click this, this is supposed to happen, and then from there, I tell you like, hey, here I click, it didn't, like something that a QA would do, you know, like, and then report back to a development team, just like all the different things that it didn't do, and those could be just like a more complex agents that are not just a single flow. Anyway, I don't know. I got distracted. The question.
No, I mean, the topic is so open, right? I mean, there's so many different aspects and talking points about it. But like my takeaway here, like you are exploring like how Lumi or how agents could interact with your product from the outside world. There was already something mentioned in the chat with MCPs. Csongor, you just wrote it there as well. I want to touch base on that in a tiny bit as well. Maybe first, who are maybe from your like broad design background, like are you in your day-to-day work already considering while designing that AI agents are a user group, or is that still something that's just at the back of your head, but it's not like part of your actually day-to-day work when you design new features, new functionalities?
Yeah, I think that for like in-house designer, eventually you will need it to design for AI agent. And I think the biggest shift is that designer now we have to consider not just how humans interact with digital products. It's more about like how AI agent might use them. I mean, traditionally we design for, let's say, human perception, how things look and feel, right? But now AI agent, they don't really see button or colors. They just read the code, the structure, the data flow. So, for example, take travel booking as an example. If an AI is, comparing prices for users, it doesn't care about the visual hierarchy, right? It looks for structured data. So I think now, designer, we have to kind of rethink: are we optimizing for what's seen or what's parsed by AI? I mean, I think it's a layer deeper than just visual AI. It's more about machine readability and then the human usability. So yes, I think that we eventually, as a designer working for the company, we will need to take this into consideration.
Csongor, do you think like the job as a designer, like if you look from like how AI bots and then AI agents are working technically, do you think our approach as designers on like designing a like web product will become more technical with that as well? I mean, I think Figma already pushed us quite in that direction. Like we are using Figma, like a lot of like HTML code and stuff is written. But do you think it will even push us further into that direction?
This is a really good. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Who wants to take it?
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
go
for
ahead.
it too, if you have an opinion.
No, after you.
Sure. So I think I've been actually saying this across many different groups, from even, for example, non-technical commercial entrepreneurs to product managers to designers, that because our reality is becoming so interwoven and deeply technical, that it's important to at least understand the fundamentals. Because this, you are right, it will significantly change about like how you should think about design. And one good example I like to say, like we had an era in design and in building SaaS products before, where we try to present complex data in a beautiful way. we have all done that for a long time, building beautiful dashboards. But now this is changing a lot, because what happens in a world where people will not have to use those dashboards anymore, because the software will just get all the work done for you. So don't worry about coming here anymore. So then what's the new experience that people will have to have? What is that even simpler experience to have with the software instead of using Salesforce, which is super clunky and complicated? How about just having 3 buttons, which is like your command center, and maybe a voice modality as an interaction? So I think, yeah, to answer your question briefly, I think it's important to understand, like, on a surface level, the technical components of this.
What do you like? What's your take on also like to the more design focused people? Like if I think about like my day-to-day life, and there's a lot of technology that has evolved and has come out, but there's always this like QR code restaurant menus. They're awesome for young people that have smartphones. My grandmother doesn't have one, right? Like, what's your like? How are we going to like? Are we going to design like have one design that's like done for web, mobile, and tablets, and there's one specifically for AI agents because we still want to have the beauty? You think there's going to be a transition period? Like, what's your take on that thought, openly in the round?
My God, Philip, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No, good. Imagine, like, you know, all of these restaurants that have QR codes as their menus, right? Like, they are super useful for us, very digital. We always have our phones in our hand, but my grandma, for example, she doesn't use a smartphone. So how is that going to be affect the internet? Like, do we really give up designing beautiful web products because we know it's mainly going to be agents, or like 80% agents visit them? Like, how do you think that will turn out? Like, how do you think that will switch?
I mean, I would say that this was happening even before AI agents. Like the web was already dying, and I would say that creating landing pages and creating a website is more of a vanity thing. Is not a. It's like with your example with the restaurant. Who actually goes to a restaurant websites to check their menu and stuff? Like you use Google. You know, you go to Google and then you check the reviews and stuff, and maybe some people already posted some photos. Some people even use Instagram. They just like check on Instagram, and then they find the restaurant that they want to. And sometimes they even like check the photos on Instagram and say like, hey, I want this thing. You know, like nobody goes to the landing page anymore, right? Nobody goes to the website. And so this thing is just like helping that, where you're going to be able to just like ask the little robot. It was like, hey, I'm trying to find a place to go eat. And then it will be able to just like search around you, know the context, like, and then recommend maybe based on your preferences, based your dietary restrictions or something, and then say like, hey, you know what, like a walking distance, there's this place, has good reviews, and it has a vegan omelette. Is that a thing? A vegan omelette, just as you like, and you should go, you know. And so like it's already like doing all of these things, whereas like I didn't even need to go to Google. Like I didn't even go to see the reviews. I just like trusted this task to a robot, and as like the little robot went, searched, like knew my preferences, and then came back with something. So the website, it's what website? Like who? I mean, we were not looking at the websites anymore. Like it's more of a designer thing.
What about
our
that we products, have. Right? I mean, Csongor just said it, right? Like dashboards will become obsolete, like nicely designed visual SaaS tools that you can think about. Like, will we still use those really?
I don't know. Like I would say that people like their dashboards. There's some people that love that stuff. So, but now, is it going to be this dashboard design on like that we're going to need a designer to do it? I don't know. Why? Because maybe there's already tools, maybe on Google Slides or maybe on Google Sheets or something. You can plug it into a specific database that already has all of your analytics or your insights, and then can pull that data for you. And then depending on what you ask, it's just like, I just want to, just like what a CEO was like, I need to see today's numbers, you know. And then this thing, the robot can go, and then if later Google cheats or something, creates their own agent that can plug into data and can present back with a template, then it can just do that for you. You know, now you don't need a dashboard; you just need the tool that you're already using to create the data. I'm just imagining here. I'm not saying that already exists, but I can totally see that kind of workflow. But the human still wants, like with this specific example, I think the human still wants to sit down and say like, oh, I like that, you know, whereas like seeing the graphics and stuff, I don't think that's going away. Now, is a designer still going to do it? I don't know. So, wow, this turned into that kind of conversation. I'm sorry.
Before going into like AI versus human-centric design, maybe one last topic about the technability, like the technology and the things. Maybe Csongor also there, as you have the most technology background in that sense, from that round in that direction, is what could we as designers really do to make life for an agent as easy as possible while navigating our product? Like, is it literally giving him hints in the code? Is it like nice and clean code? Or is it really something within the UI to make his life easier? Or his or her life, depending on how you want to phrase an agent's.
Yeah. I think a great question. So one thing which I touched on also at the beginning was this concept of called tools. And there is this standard which is very fast on the rise. We talked about it also on the chat a little bit. MCP, Model Context Protocol, launched by Anthropic, now taking off like wildfire. Even companies like Stripe launching their MCPs. Really, MCP is just a fancy way to say that we have a standardized worldwide API structure for every product. It's as simple as that, nothing fancier. And this is one of the ways that you can build for. So here, tight collaboration with your engineers and considering which features of your product you could open up to the world to interact with. Like, for example, I just met an amazing startup in London. They are basically changing the way that small businesses are taking payments from their clients. And they also have a sort of accounting component to their product. And they have decided to just like MCP their whole product and open it up so that external AI agents could interact with it. So for example, if there is a company building an AI CFO, that AI CFO could also interact with the accounting software to look into invoices, look into past analytics, and give reports. So I would say that is one area. The other area is around like when AIs are, so they also have this capability from OpenAI called Operator, when they just look at your screen and try to figure out where to click and where to go next. There, they are somewhat good, but they are still getting stuck often. I think there, how you could think about it is they look at the screen, they try to predict where is the next best step to go, and they base their decision a lot on the text that is showing up on those buttons. Of course, what could be the answer here? Just like put very long descriptive sentences in the buttons? Obviously not. So that is still a problem area that is being discovered, whether it could navigate based on the underlying text of a page. So then if that is a breakthrough, then it will also mean that optimizing the tags on every single button with longer descriptions of where that button could lead and what actions and what opportunities could open up in the product so that the user can navigate, like the agent can navigate easily. But the challenge there is always around like what happens when the user gets lost in the product. And for that, there is still no correct answer of like how it could just like anytime resume from a path that it got lost in the product and know how to go back onto the homepage and begin again or resume a previous flow that it was going through.
So still a field that is really unexplored in that sense, right? Like, I mean, MCP, yes, but this is a pure technical approach, and that's easily to understand in that sense, right? But I think in the design world, that's also my take on that, and but also interested in yours, how you see it. But I think currently this is still very unexplored of like, how could we make a, not particularly talking about a website, but a digital product more accessible
Yeah.
for agents in the future? Like, what type of navigation do they prefer, and can they navigate the most easiest? Like, what underlying, as you just said, what needs more description? So maybe there, who as well, like, when you're thinking
Yeah.
about that, and also where do you draw the line, right? Like, who is a website for? And maybe also the standard in the future for agents will just be something like MCP, and they will never just purely browse the website. But yeah, curious on your
Yeah, I
take here.
think this is a really good question. I think I agree that AI agent, they see interface so differently, right? They look for pattern code, structure, not just color and visuals. But I just wanted to like chime in and say that if we try to optimize too much for AI, we probably, I mean, we might lose sight of usability. So a good example is SEO. So we all, but when websites starting to optimizing for Google instead of people, and you might end up with, you know, the website will be full with keyword stuff, keywords junk, and we don't want that happening in design, right? But I agree that the way we interact with AI, it's already evolving. Right now, most AI tools are still chat based, but I think with AI agent, future tool will likely to be a lot of more visual and interactive. For example, imagine this, instead of, you know, just typing make this dark mode version of this UI to ChatGPT or Canva designer, could simply just drag and tweak and then collaborate with AI in real time. I mean, in the future, I think that Canva AI already doing this. I tried their new product. It's kind of fun and usable. So in general, I just want to say that this shift will make AI feel less like a search engine in general, and it will be more like a design partner. But again, just wanted to, I think it's up to us to kind of make sure that while we are making this easier for AI, we don't want it to lose the human experience along the way. This might be a little bit generic, but that's my take.
I think that will be the most interesting thing, is right, like how much human touch will we lose? I mean, I know you, Pablo, as well from past events. You're a very creative person, right? Like, you love to have a lot of human touch on certain things. So it will be sad if that will be completely going away, right? Like, when you visit digital products, when you like explore websites that might become more obsolete, but still for vanity reasons they are there, right? But it will be sad, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't blame only AI agents on this. If anything, they're just accelerating something that was already happening. And even what you were mentioning about the SEO, like, hey, like websites have been just like optimized for SEO because like we know user behavior. User behavior is usually not going directly to your domain, to your website. They just like search for something. They go to Google and they search for that, or they go to other platforms they're used to that they are that is part of their habit, and then they try to find whatever solution they need to a problem through those tools. And then like your beautifully designed website might not show up if it's not SEO friendly. Now it might not actually, your tool and everything might not be picked up if it doesn't have a clear API, if it doesn't maybe even have clear documentation, which are like not very exciting for designers, like having an API that an MCP can read and can understand. But I think there's a future, and like it's already like what we need to do for these agents. It feels like a new version of SEO, you know, like a SEO for robots in a way. And I don't know. I don't. But by the way, like the human in the loop. On the other side, there should still be a human in the loop. By the way, like agents should be built in a way that that have guardrails, so they don't go like and they go do crazy stuff. So when you build an agent, you want to have those guardrails, but also like have ways to just like escalate, where it's like it gets stuck, or maybe like what you were saying, Csongor, where it's like it's about payments and stuff, and maybe it's refunds. Maybe you don't want this to just like automatically refund a large amount, you know. So you want to escalate to a human, and a human that is like, oh, yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. So at least on the other side, there's still their agents need to be. The thing is that I would like to shift our conversation about designing websites or designing experiences for agents, and I would like to also start talking about like, hey, how we designers start involving ourselves in designing these agents, on how to get these agents to have clear guardrails, to be in and to be built in an ethical way, to be like you're saying, keeping the human in the loop. So like on the other side, when someone is using these agents, they're meaningful, they're clear, and they don't go rogue. And I think yeah, we should be like, hey, how are websites going to be designed? Are they, oh, websites are dying. Okay, well, we should see the opportunity on the other side. Well, we should be working on the agents, because over there, like I think it's very tech heavy, and it's very engineering, and all the labs are working on this stuff. And I don't see a lot of design leadership going over there and saying like, grabbing that seat at the table that we have been fighting for a while. So like innovation and tech is on the other side, and I think we should be involved on that side. Sorry, like I'm getting a little bit political.
That was a great take, and then also something that I like. I think we can like two parts to it. Maybe before we dive deeper into like into the role of like how can a UX UI designer in the future play a significant role while like designing these agents. I mean, currently I think all of the design world is kind of a bit in like setback mode, because currently how we interact with these agents is purely in text, with like most of the cases, right? There's one more technical thing I'd like to explore just quickly. There's a really nice question from Ula, where she's saying about like AI hallucination. Is that going to be a problem in the future? And how do we humans, and again, like talking about the designer role as well, how could we keep it in check that it's not like dreaming up things without looking at our fancy dashboards to check that? Maybe that's that take, and I would really love to explore for the other 10 minutes more like the UI UX designer role in the future before jumping to all of the chat's questions there.
Happy to take this from my end. So like hallucination, I would say, is a problem today. And of course, like models are hallucinating, and there are a bunch of different ways how we engineers are going about solving this. Like, for example, making sure that there is the right context and the right information within the prompt. This is like the simplest possible thing to do, to all the way to more advanced, but I will not go into the details. The expectation is that over time, as AI agents will be able to take in and process larger amounts of information within only one prompt, this hallucination problem will slowly go away. How can other things that we can do today to protect this? I'm not sure if from a design perspective there is, I mean, there are some things that you can do, but I think the first and most important thing is to nudge your engineers to implement evaluations and tell them that this product cannot be released unless there is an evaluation data set in place. And we have run the evaluations against it, and we see how it performs. I would say that's number one. And then the second piece would be that anytime that you, like now LLMs are also capable to have this like LLM as a judge situation, where on one hand you have an LLM that generates an outcome, and on the other hand, you have another LLM which is critiquing an outcome. So you could use this kind of setup to identify whenever some violations are happening within your product experience, and then show a new type of alert or some notice to your end users like, hey, this might be wrong. We are not 100% sure that is the correct answer. So just look out.
So we let them discuss, basically. We let them have internal arguments and fights, like little robot fights.
Pretty much.
Pablo, take it. I saw you.
Oh no, no, no!
You wanted to go with it.
I feel like I'd be just like hogging the microphone, please, Ua.
Oh, so actually, I just wanted to try in and say something. I know I'm not an engineer, but correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding is that machine learning model, like LLM, they predict what comes next, right, based on probability. So they don't really actually understand the context or what's actually true for user. For example, if you ask AI, okay, after it rains, the tree will be what, right? It might just return wet. It is. I mean, this is only because of what comes up most often in its database, right? So what I'm trying to say that machine learning could be wrong because the street could be, let's say, pretty clean after because the rain just washed away everything, right? And it could be just dry because the sun just came up. I guess what I'm trying to say that is that AI is just making the most likely guesses. It's not necessarily the right one for every situation. So I guess Pablo, what I do second you just mentioned. That's why I think human judgment and guidance is still so important in this AI agent.
How do you
world.
think, like, we as designers, like, what will we change of our job, right? I think, like, how will we look in the future? How will a design will look in the future?
I think for a designer, in-house designer like me, AI is a tool to help us to speed up the work process. For example, in product design, AI can help us to generate tons of ideas, right? Exploring new direction, even prototyping. I think at the end of the day, it's still up to us designer to refine, test, and then choose the best idea. I mean, still the one who own everything. We still need the one who is decided which design can actually, let's say, go into production. It's not AI, it's still us. So AI agent is more like a partner to me as a designer. Yes.
I'm gonna say, building on what you're saying, I think we cannot use the excuse, or we cannot hide behind about like, I'm a designer, so I don't know about this stuff, or I'm not. I don't get into the technical aspect. No, I'm sorry. Like, we have to learn all this stuff. We have to get fluent in this stuff. Like, we have to know how agents work, how they operate, how they see the world, and we have to involve ourselves on how these systems are built. Because I think that we have a great advantage. Like, we keep talking about the design empathy and all of that stuff. We have to bring that into how these things, like Csongor was saying about, like, you have to be clear about the instructions. For example, like it's really just like writing instructions. It's almost like writing a document. And if this thing, and there were questions about hallucinations. It's not so much about hallucinations anymore. It's more about like, if this thing is going to be sloppy in its work, it's because the instructions were sloppy. Because they were vague and they were not clear. They were not giving enough context, or they were not giving the right documentation. They were not explicit about what the agent should do. And I think we designers have a superpower on that. We know how these things can work, and we can imagine the flow of. And you were mentioning, Philip, also about like, hey, agents fighting. That's the whole idea, and that is like it has even a name, whereas orchestration. As in like how these agents work together, which is really weird and really fun. The idea that these things actually kind of mimic how we work as a team, because like, hey, it could be like a single agent system, the ones that I was defining, where it's just like it's one single agent to just like human input, like, hey, check this design, for example. Then you only need one agent that just like checks all the stuff, just checks the design, and then gives you an output. But there are some more complex tasks where you need multiple agents, and these multiple agents are working in parallel in different ways. And these ways could be where this is where it gets really, really cool and really fun. It could be that you have a manager. One agent is a manager, and it's given tasks to other little robots. So it's the bossy robot that is telling other robots, hey, your task is going to be this, and your task is going to be this. So there's a manager, like almost like a PM or like a creative director, let's call it, on the design realm, and it's saying, like, you're really good at logo types. Why? Because you're X model or you're this diffusion model. So you go and do that. Hey, I need to review this image that I was sent by the human boss. And so you, the one that is like multimodal and knows how to read images, I'm going to give you that task and report back to me whenever you have that thing. So it's this manager that is like giving the task to the robots, and because at the end they have a goal to just like output something, right? And like, well, that is very clear, like, very simple output, but it could be just like actually filling up, doing a design, doing a report or something. And there's other patterns that is like, this is the one that is like more cooler, whereas like the robots are talking amongst themselves, and it's more like a decentralized kind of pattern, where it's like, hey, they're given a task, and then one of them will be like, oh, I need the help of the other robot that I know that is good at this stuff. So I'm going to go with the one that is good at web search. So, hey, little robot, can you help me do a search of this thing and then report back to me, because I need it for this brand thing that I need to do, and I need some references. So like then suddenly you have these robots, yeah. And also like on the ones that is like guardrails, that can also be a robot that is actually a robot that is just like checking that these guys don't go off the rails. And there's another robot that is just like checking on that. It's like, hey, where you going? You're not supposed to do that. Come on back over here. So all of that stuff, it's almost like a story, you know. It's almost like building a little team, and it's like, and I like keep talking about them as little robots, because it helps me understand better their task, how to talk to them, how to give them instructions, and also, like as a designer, helps me also sell that idea when I'm in a team was like, hey, well, we're going to build a team that does these things. And now I'm not just the one pushing the pixels and making little buttons and then waiting the engineering and product team do this thing in an ethical way and in an effective way. I'm part of the conversation as a designer, because I understand all these things. So I think that our role as designers is writing these instructions, setting these guardrails, but for that, we have to understand how these things work. We cannot just be on the side, just like saying like, oh, I'm not that technical, or I still don't understand. No, there's no excuse for that. You're going to get left behind. I'm sorry.
I really like that take. I also gave a thumbs up on that. I think for us as designer, it's currently a weird place, right? Because it's definitely like all of this AI agent world is very technical, right? I mean, Csongor, you also demonstrated that in a sense, right? And I think we as designers, we learn to get more technical now over the course of a lot of years. We have fought our battles and in try to claim our seat or claimed our seat. And now there's a whole new like topic coming up that again is like rattles a bit on our seat, and is like maybe sawing away one leg and then another one. It definitely supports that when we use it, but I think there are two things to it, right? Like there's the one side of us as designers using it in order to create interfaces, create websites, create stock imagery, create these things. But the whole other part is like how, right, you rightfully said, Pablo, right? Pablo, is how do we get integrated into building these systems? Like how do we find a seat there? How do we like orchestrate it? Because obviously that's a lot of development work. There's a lot of like, let's call it AI automation engineers that's going to define like how these robots talk to each other. So that is a very, very interesting and how that will play out. I think, I don't know if you guys have the answer already. Maybe Csongor, from your day-to-day work with your agency as well, like how do you see the design role like of some of your clients being involved in that role here as well already?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in because I think we are talking about like this massive shift that is happening. So I wanted to like anchor it back to like the now reality and like what can you do like today? If you leave this call from today or tomorrow, what can you do? And the reality is that like we haven't figured yet agents out, and there will be a ton more agents that we have to build. One of the absolute best product transformations that I recently participated in with an enterprise, they had an ERP software. I mean, they were in a very unfortunate position to not even have a product designer for 10 years. So you can imagine how that product looked like. But putting that aside, the product designers came in, and within a month, their only task was to look at all the flows, how a customer is using their product today, and identify the 80-20. What is that 20% of the workflows that is used 80% of the time? Then we created a process map out of it. We sat down with the AI engineers, we looked at it, and we asked ourselves, how much of this can be automated? And we got to the simple conclusion of taking those set of workflows and just creating a control center with 5 buttons on it. The target user of this product is 50 plus, FYI as well. So we had to make it very simple. And then one workflow, for example, all it is just like click the button, upload a picture, get an assessment from the AI with recommendations, and just correct it if you think it's wrong. If it's all good, just click accept. And what took before 15 clicks, now it just takes 2 clicks. And this is what you can immediately do to bring a lot of value to these software companies nowadays, because they want to transform and adapt, otherwise they will die. Like literally, startups from San Francisco will come and kill their business, because who wouldn't pay for a product where you just have to click 2 times and not have to use it like 3 hours a day? Like everyone would pay for it. So yeah, that would be my biggest suggestion and what I have seen to work so far.
Awesome. No, I think that's a very good point to have like a clear, okay, what can we do now as designers? I'm also eyeing a bit on the time. I don't know how your schedules are looking, but obviously we're in different time zones. There's still a day ahead. We have quite some questions in the chat that I would like to bring up as well to discuss those. So the first one is from Yolanda. Are agents not causing user journeys to change? And do we really need to think in parallel while designing, especially in the now, right? I think how the future might look, we don't know yet. But if we change the user journey for agents, how will it affect it for the regular user? And do we design in parallel? Well, maybe your take on it.
Okay, so the question. Okay, so I think I don't think the designer will ever fully shift away from human intuition. I know that AI is like a tool, you can quickly generate some icons and colors, but it's not making big creative decision. What I'm trying to say that if you ask AI, design the next big dating app for me, it would just probably return, create a slightly different version of Tinder because it doesn't really exist in the training database. AI can remix what's already known, but it kind of struggle to invent what is, what doesn't really exist. I don't know if this is answering your question, but in general, yes, we need to take AI agent into consideration. But in general, but in the long run, it's still up to us humans to create the novel idea. If that makes sense.
No, I think definitely, and it goes into like one of the next questions, follow-up questions to that. I think Pablo, you're the one that can answer that nicely, because you were just talking about like these manager agents talking to their like peers, of giving them tasks, like, and also like the LLMs or like an agent that is holding these guardrails, like how controlled, like we are then also designing these experiences, right? Because we are giving prompts to these agents. We are telling them what to do. We are telling them how to behave. Like how much can we actually control, and how much it would then also be putting too much control on them, because the outcome would then be very one-sided always.
Yeah, and sorry, is the question like how much control do we give them, and how much?
Yeah. What do you think is too much control versus too little control? You have a take on that?
I mean, also to just like even before that, I think we should think about like should this be an agent? Is this something that needs an agent? Because I'm sure, like right now, agents. We need agents for everything, and the agents usually are needed for when there's a need for something that is not deterministic, that is like a little bit chaotic, that you need a little bit more reasoning, where it's like taking different steps versus like a simple task. Maybe it should be just like a basic old school automation, and not so much calling an AI agent to actually do something. So which that means like, hey, how much agency do you give agency to the agents depends on the task, and also I think agents, at least for now, and what I'm seeing, work better when they have clear instructions that are predictable, that you can tell them, and you can tell them, this is what I need to be done. These are the things that that I need to happen, and that I need you to check, or I need you to do. So, and it's supposed to just like work with those instructions. Then the guardrails are supposed to help if it starts going off rails, and it start not doing the tasks, that the instructions that it was given, and using the tools that it was asked to use, then the guardrails will like try to like bring it back. I think it's the idea of like it all depends. But I think as designers, we have to be involved in these things, in these conversations, so we can design these things. Because in a way, we're designing agents. We're deciding what models to use. You know, even that is very technical. You can start like asking, was like, hey, in this specific step or this specific task, what is the model that it should use? Should it use the one that is reasoning one, like 01 from OpenAI, or 03, or should it use one that is more efficient, quicker, because it's going to be just like a check on some text? Maybe it could use even 40 mini or something that is cheaper, that is faster. So even those kinds of decisions that are very technical, I think we should be involved. Where it's like, hey, you start deciding what are the steps, and then you start deciding what are the models that are going to be used on each step. And then you start saying like, okay, these are the tasks that should be defined, and you start defining those tasks, and you start testing them, and you start seeing where does it need more agency, and where does it start doing stuff that you don't want it to do. And then in those cases, how to build in human in the loop kind of how do you say it, like ways to get out of saying like, hey, I need to scale this up to a human, you know, like it just, I don't know how to answer this. It's just like
but in the end,
this,
we
all
are
of this
designing
thing,
a user journey, right? Like,
yeah, this is a design problem.
just uses agents, right? And I think that's like the take that you have been going at, as well as, right, like we need to like direct and guide those agents, and it is a user journey, right? And I think that's how we should look at them.
Exactly. Like we're pretty much just like doing to build an agent, and I'm not talking about the code. Like I'm not saying, hey, all of you go code. I mean, you could potentially do it with Vive coding for now, but like it's good to understand the fundamentals of how these things are designed, how they're built, what models they're using, what are the things where it could go wrong, and that way we can help design these things. Like, and I want that to be a term we use when we build this. We're actually designing an agent too.
Amazing. We're already a bit over the time. I don't want to like cut anyone short. There's one very good last question though that I would like to have before like wrapping things up a bit, is going into the same direction, but maybe also like Csongor, in your outside view in the design world. Do you think we will become drastically more generalistic in our like profession, or do you think we rather will go to the other end and like we will get way more specialized in a thing in terms of like, let's say, like, let's make it very concrete. Like, do we as designers, like Pablo just said, will our only job be to design interactions of these agents, to craft user journeys with these agents, or will it be so broadly that we really need to stand like the whole thing that an agent is doing, that we need to understand how the MCP work, like how an Excel, do we need to understand all of these LLMs? Like, what's your take on that for the future of us as UX UI designers?
Honestly, I think it could go both ways. I'm not sure if one or the other. Like on one end, yes, probably you will have to expand beyond being a designer and getting more involved in user research, for example, getting more involved in the product road mapping side as well. The same as we can see, for example, a transition happening within Apple and then Airbnb introduced as well, that product managers are not only shaping the roadmap, but they are also product marketers now, and they have to think about pricing and how to sell the product. So the same shift can happen in the product design role. This is when you get more generalists. But on the other hand, what we also see is that a lot of these big AI companies will take the role of generalist AI agents. The ChatGPTs of the world will be the generalists. And then the other companies will have to differentiate themselves by being very specialist in a vertical and very deeply integrated. So I think then to succeed within one of those verticals, let's say in manufacturing, I mean, you as a product designer have to really love that industry and become a specialist within designing, manufacturing AI agents and understanding the whole context as well where that agent will interact. So I think it can go both ways.
Nice. There's still so many things we could discuss. I mean, Silvia, you also just mentioned it in the chat, like if AI agents are a new human group, could we, do we need to take, like, also consider the environment, the planet around that? Like, what about electricity consumption? What about, like, where they are running? I think there will be so much more that we could discuss. Maybe if there's any closing take from the round, like Pablo or Csongor, that you want to still give to the designers before we wrap it up. I will still be here in the chat and answer some questions, but already want to say a big thanks.
I want to quickly try in and say that I don't think that AI won't replace human, but human with AI will replace human without AI. I mean, this is, it's like having like a superpower designer who embrace AI can move faster, explore more idea, and then also come up with even more creative solutions. So the future isn't about human versus AI. I would say it's more like humans working smarter with AI alongside with us. So those who learn to work with AI tool I would say that they would set like a new standard for what great design looks like.
I building on that last question, Philipp, about the a specialist versus generalist, and like this goes about like where do you go deeper, and where do you go on your skills? You start like becoming better, right? It's like you stay on the top where it's like like a horizontal where you just know a little bit of everything, or you just go deeper into something, right? The thing is that, well, AI agents and LLMs and AI in general and all these things, I think that have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? I'll try to explain it. The Dunning-Kruger effect is this effect, this cognitive bias that we have, in which in the beginning, would you just know a little bit about something, about a topic, about a skill, about a program or something, you just know the surface level, your confidence is super high, right? Because you think that you know it all when you don't know a lot. So your competence is horrible. It's in the lowest numbers. But your confidence, how you feel about yourself and how good you think you are, it's through the roof. You think that you know it all when you don't know nothing, right? Then suddenly you start knowing a little bit more, and you realize, oh my God, this is way more complex than I thought. Oh my God, this is more like you realize that being a manager or a specific tool or a specific language, you start realizing that it was more complex than you thought. So your confidence level just like plummets. It goes to like below zeros. Why? Because you realize that I was an idiot thinking that I knew it all. Here's the thing now with AI. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think we're all going to remain up there thinking that we know it all, because suddenly we all have little tools that can do it for us. Suddenly we have the little tools that have the skills, that have the competence. So now we're going to think that our confidence is still going to remain at the top, and we're going to delegate not just design, like managing, just like a sales, like anything, to these little robots. So our confidence is going to remain on the top, while we're never going to go deep, which like worries me, by the way, going to go deeper into actually, do I need to learn that thing? Do I need to learn that craft? Not anymore, maybe, because the robot already does it. So why would I even learn it? And you know what? I feel like I'm doing it. Yeah, the robot is doing it, but really, I told the robot to do it. So now I feel like I did it, you know? So our confidence is going to remain on the top. By the way, for those who are Googling Dunning-Kruger effect, there's a graphic of this. On the top of the graph, on the top of it, and on the top of a month, they call it the top of Mount Stupid, because you're as stupid as it gets without knowing, and you feel like very confident. So I predict the future in which humans, we're going to remain at the top of Mount Stupidity, you know? Whereas like, hey, we're going to think that we know it all. We really don't. We're just going to be delegating things to the robots, and our confidence is going to remain like that. And maybe not right now. It's still very technical, and still like Csongor was saying, where it's like, hey, this is still the beginnings of it, but I can predict the future in which we're going to get dumber and dumber. But hey, maybe and these things are going to get better and better at understanding our prompts, even if we don't use prompt engineering and all this stuff. It's like, do my homework, and it's going to be able to do it. And you're not going to have to even be specific. It's going to know the context, your goals, whatever you think is good, and it's going to just do it for you, even without you having to write a good prompt. I predict something like that. So I predict for humanity being on the top of Mount Stupid. That's what I think.
Isn't that a nice take to end our roundtable? Predicting the future and being on top of Mount Stupidity. But I do agree. There will be a lot of opportunities created because of that. Because I think knowledge might be something that will be seen as something very shallow, and you can really shine with very specialized knowledge as well. As we already way past over our time, and I already see people that have to tend to their day-to-day work and other things, I would, even though there are 100 topics that I would like to still discuss, and I think we also could sit here and talk for another 3 hours, I would like to roll it up. I think very interesting takes on like how we as designers look in the future with AI, but also how we will design for AI in the future. But it also clearly shows that there are not yet any definitive answers. We're still all like exploring this new field and this very uncertain field yet. I think a good take that you could hear from all the panel parties was like, embrace it, learn it, understand it, and let's see what the future holds for us. So thanks all for joining. Thanks you to my panel guests for taking the time, for making your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Had a lot of fun moderating that, and I'm sure we will be back for more of this.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you
very
as well.
much. Bye. Guys, have a nice evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your working day if it's morning. And thank you very much. See you soon. Stay safe.